Hi everybody, welcome along back to HPC Tech Shorts, where every week we take you to the engineering water cooler here in AWS in HPC Engineering, and we talk to the engineers and the architects and the data scientists who are building services that are making HPC in the cloud a better place. So this week we're going to talk about DCV. We've got quite a lot of new things coming out of DCV at the moment. It's a piece of software that was originally designed for scientists and engineers who needed to visualize very large data sets coming out of supercomputers. And since it wasn't easy to put the scientist and the supercomputer right next to each other, it's a little bit cold in that data center, we had to work out how to push pixels over the internet efficiently and without any loss of fidelity. Now, if you fast forward 20 years, we've got generations of gamers that want to do all of this stuff as well. 60 frames per second or not at all. They've got more pixels because it's HD and 4K now. And then with COVID, of course, we've all started working from home. And so pretty much everybody's getting into the act of wanting to push pixels over the internet. So anyway, so this week, I'm really excited at the fact that I'm joined by Paolo and Rey. Hey, guys.
Hey. Hi.
Paolo. So Paolo is the general manager of the DCV engineering team in AWS, and Rey is in Seattle. Rey is our senior product manager. Rey's job is to wake up every morning trying to work out how to make DCV even better and badder and do more crazy things. And that's why we're here today, because you guys have got a ton of new stuff to talk about. So so we're going to get to it very quickly. Now let's see, Rey, if I share, I'm going to put my desktop up. Make sure I got to click the right button. Hey, success. Okay. Take it away. This is our What's New post, which is a bit of a jumbo. It's a bumper release, right?
Yes, this is a big release that we just did on April 12th of this year, and we have packed a lot of interesting features into this release. So the goal for today is for us to walk you through and give you a little bit of demo about the different features that we have included in the DCV version 2021.0 release. So,
and we've also got an SDK in there to talk about too, haven't we?
Yes, definitely. So in addition to all the features listed here, such as webcam, printer redirection, better support for M1 Macs, multi-monitor support for Macs, and some improvements that we have done for the session manager, and better support for our G4AD, our AMD instance type. We've also announced a new Web Client SDK at the end of March, the version 1.0.0 version of the Web Client SDK, which is a JavaScript SDK that is a optional component software that enables any developer or system integrator or ISVs to integrate a customized nice DCV web client into their web applications. Customers can use this SDK in combination of custom user interface components to completely rebuild the DCV web client experience, really tailor to their use cases and deliver a unique experience to their customers. But anyway, we will have another tech talk that dives deep into this SDK, so I won't cover much here, but let's jump back to the release topics.
Back to the release. Yep.
Great. So the first topic that I want to discuss is the webcam redirection feature that we launched.
Mm-hmm.
And what this is the ability for customers to use their local webcams and mics with video conferencing or other streaming applications running inside a nice DCV remote session. This is important because
slightly essential feature during work from home, isn't it?
Definitely. So you no longer have to, work on your applications inside a DCV session and then switch back and forth to the local Zoom call that you run on your local laptop. Here you see the login page for the DCV web client, and what I'm going to do is just to type in username and password, and here we go. Now you see the remote desktop streamed all the way from AWS data centers. And on the top, you see the mic and webcam icons. If you want to use this feature, you make sure that you click on those to enable them. And then to test whether this works, I'm going to go to a Webcam Test website. And here, when I click on Test My Webcam, first I have to enable the browser to use the webcam. And here you go. You see me in front of the screen. So you can also see a red icon on the top so that you know your webcam is being streamed. You can also use switch different mics and use multiple mics and webcams for this feature, and it doesn't have to be physical webcams as well. You can be virtual. So what I'm going to do here is to demo you how we switch a different webcam, and then again I'm going to do a test. So I'm going to go back to the webcam test, and again test my cam and allow access. And you can see from my laptop webcam, you can see me again.
That's really cool. And that's a Mac webcam streaming through DCV to a Windows desktop. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and to protect your privacy, right now I have turned off this feature. So when I do the test again, you're not going to see my camera. And this is intended.
Right. That's super important.
With 2021.0 version, we also launched the support for printer redirection with Linux server. That is something that we already had for Windows. We launched it last year. And it's a super important feature because, I mean, when you want to use a remote desktop solution, I mean, you want anyway to be able to use your local devices. So we have seen the webcam is a case. There are a lot of other devices. So for example, we support smart cards. So here you have a smart card reader, or I mean, you see here a lot of other devices that we are testing, Wacom tablets and stuff like that. And so, I mean, printer is also very important. And you want to be able to use the printer that you connect to your client. So if you can show the demo or launch the demo that I pre-recorded.
Oh yeah, sure.
We are on a Windows native client, and we have 3 printer connected, and my printer is 1. So in the old version of DCV, so if I connect to an old server, so 2020.2 in this case, I mean, on the server side, that is a Linux machine running on AWS, there was no printer. So actually, I'm not able at all to print contents from my Linux machine. So if I, without printer redirection, if I go here and say, okay, let's try to print, nothing, I cannot do that.
Yeah.
So we need a way to actually be able to print, and not just printer that are network printer, but also printer that are, let's say, physically attached to your client. And in this case, with 2021.0, you will see that actually the remote machine will have a list of printer, and that are exactly the printer you have on your clients. You see the My Printer, and then if I try to open a dock and print, I will be actually able to do so. And here we will see, if I try to print, I see my printer as one of the available printer, can select it, and I can print. And cool. If you see here, I can open the queue on my local PC, and you will see that as soon as I print on the remote machine, actually a print job appears in the local printer. And this is cool. And here is actually what you get. A real piece of paper with a dock. You add it on the cloud.
That's actually very cool. It's you know, these might seem like relatively I don't know, straightforward things, but when you're trying to actually virtualize an application that's thousands of miles running on a server, thousands of miles away in the cloud or in a data center, you all of the little touches that make that virtualization invisible. And make you feel like that application's running on your desktop natively. All of those things matter, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. And let me also say that this feature is pretty cool because you actually have the possibility to print from a Linux box into a Windows client. And so we have actually been able to redirect printers that are connected to a Windows machine on the client side to a Linux machine on the server side.
Yep.
It's interesting also from the technical point of view.
Yeah, that's particularly interesting and actually not altogether easy. So yeah, cool. All right, that's very neat. All right, so moving right along because have we got some stuff to get through. So Rey, improvements to the M1.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we have made a couple of three improvements to the native Mac client that we have for DCV. And first one is the support for M1 Macs. So which just means that if you buy a M1 Mac, MacBook, or the new iMac that just came out, you will be able to use it as a DCV client. And this is cool because those M1 Macs are ARM-based, right? And they're designed by Apple. They're the first system on the chip design that Apple has launched. And from what we heard, it's very powerful. So a lot of customers have been asking for this, and in this release, we have the support. And in addition, we also are supporting multi-monitor support for Mac native client. So if you have multiple monitors, you can take advantage of this feature and use DCV session in multiple monitors. And lastly, we also made a change behind the scenes. We gotten the Mac notarization from Apple, which just means that customers, when you first download the DCV client app, and when you first click open, it will pop up a launch dialog box. And with the notarization, Apple will display a text that says the software has been scanned for malicious content and none was discovered.
That's really cool. Who was it in the office that actually got the Apple M1 to play with? Because I want to steal it. I think a bunch of us are.
We have actually a couple of years that we recently developed. Yeah, pretty cool machine.
Right, so all I've got to do is get out of the UK and get to Italy to steal it from you. I have to work on that. There might be easier ways. Anyway, okay, so Rey, G4AD, and you probably better tell everybody what one of those is.
Yes. So G4AD instance is a new Amazon EC2 instance type that we've launched in December 2020. G4AD, they are powered by AMD Radeon Pro V520 GPUs and second generation AMD EPYC processors. Right. We think it's really cool because G4AD provides the good price for performance for graphics intensive applications running in the cloud, up to 45% better price performance over the G4DN instance type that's powered by NVIDIA GPUs. And G4AD it's pretty good for graphics intensive applications such as graphics rendering, game streaming, and virtual workstations. We have it available in 3 different sizes, providing up to 64 vCPUs, 4 GPUs, and a 556 gigabit of memory. So with our 2021 release, right, DCV now supports both Windows Server and Linux Server running on G4AD instances. And customers can also take advantage of our GPU accelerated video encoding using this AMD GPUs for both Windows and Linux servers.
Rey, let's quickly go through the improvements we've done with the Quick protocol.
Yes. So the Quick protocol is a protocol that we introduced late last year. It's a UDP-based secure and reliable protocol. It reduces, the latency compared to that of TCP, right? So we recommend customers to try out Quick if they like to run high resolution, high frame rate, and highly dynamic workloads such as 60 frame per second 4K gaming. We have another tech talk that you can watch with Marco that dives deep into all the details about our protocol. But in this release, we have made some significant performance improvements to the protocol, in particularly, we reduced the packet loss rate significantly. And as you can see from the demo video here.
Yeah, Marco was explaining last week that with the QUIC protocol, because we're not hostage to TCP wanting to retransmit packets when they get lost, the video is just way smoother because we can, in streaming video, we can deal with a lost packet every now and again without any fidelity loss. This is a particularly cool way of visualizing it too. I'm super impressed. All right, so let's see. So that's QUIC, and by the way, I'll put the there you go. 3% packet loss is an extraordinary packet loss. So not exactly like you would see that in real life, but still, it's holding up really well. I'll put the links to that tech talk, to that tech short, into the show notes so that everybody can find that show as well. Paolo, we have to talk about GPU pipeline improvements, I think.
Yeah, sure. So let's say every new release we keep improving, let's say, DCV performance, focusing on different area. So UDP, QUIC, and so on has been one of area of attention we had in the last couple of releases. But at the same time, even if that does not show up into the release notes, we also did a lot of, let's say, work in trying to leverage the GPU in their server machine as much as we can. Actually, not just on the server machine, but in client machine as well. So when you have a GPU on your client, we can leverage that for running the coding. When you have a GPU on your server, we can actually use this GPU to do as quicker as possible the operation that we need to do, that are basically grabbing the frame, making analysis of the content of the frame to understand how to encode it and encode it using the encoder that most of the modern GPU make available. And so here you can see what we did in the last release on Linux for NVIDIA powered, let's say, server. And you see here what we call the frame time. The frame time is basically the time we spend to process one frame on the server side. That is basically time we spend grabbing the frame and then analyzing the frame up to here, up to the compression. And so you can see that with a lot of the optimization we did, where we are now actually able to run the entire processing pipeline into the GPU without moving contents from the GPU memory to the CPU memory, we have been able to basically halve the time we spend to process a frame. So in the previous version, wow, we were spending 14,000 microseconds to process a frame, and now we are at 7,000 microseconds. And keep in mind
so you've halved that. What's the impact that's going to have? That basically means that the CPU is going to be a whole lot more free.
The CPU
PCI
is way
bus is going to be a bunch more free.
Exactly, because we don't transfer content from the GPU memory to the CPU memory and anymore, but we are just transferring the content when we need it. So when it's already compressed, so you have a lot less contents to transfer from the GPU memory to the CPU memory. And at the same time, we don't consume CPU, we don't consume other, the CPU cores to actually processing the frame and so on, as we used to do in the previous version. And that is a great advantage really cool in terms of load and speed. That translates to less latency, reduced latency, hand-to-hand latency for the customer, and also more frame per second. One important thing is this is not, it's not the inverse of the frame rate, because this is a pipeline. So while we are compressing a frame, we are already also capturing the next frame, because that is
the next one.
We are making two frames in a pipeline that run parallelly.
And that's why we're talking about thousands of microseconds here, because that's the rate at which the frames are coming in. Okay, that's cool. That's particularly neat. Now you guys, there's also been sort of in a similar vein in terms of internal improvements to improve audio and video quality. Ray, what have we done with Avsync?
Yes. So like Paolo had mentioned, we did a lot of work behind the scenes to improve the performance. And one of the things we improved is to reduce the latency between the video and audio streams, which in turn, improves lip sync. And this is really helpful for our customers, especially in the media and entertainment industries that want to use DCV for video editing, audio editing, any kind of animation, game design workloads that require a more strict audio and video synchronization, because maybe the video they're editing, it's have people talking, and you don't want the audio to ever go out of sync with the video.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Paolo, I've got
a
graph here too.
This is, let's say, one of the most common asked feature from our media entertainment customers. That is super important for them. And so we are working since, let's say, months now to actually do better and better. So with 2021.0, we just focus on optimizing what we already had. So with just optimizing our code, changing, let's say, the implementation of how we stream audio, we have been able to reduce a lot the delay of the audio video. And so, for example, on a Windows server, with a Windows native client, we used to have 370 milliseconds in average. It's a delay, and we went down to 150. And that is still, let's say, far from what we want to achieve, but we are still working on that. We just introduced a number of protocol improvements, and then one of the next release, hopefully the next release, we'll see another big step in improving our support for audio video synchronization. And
that's pretty cool. And you've got and there's a cool tool, right?
Yeah, no, exactly, because I mean, one of the interesting things here is, I mean, when the guys, my developer, show me the results and say, okay, how can you measure this audio video delay in an efficient way? And that was super complicated. So at one point say, okay, I want you to have a better way to measure this. So we did some research and we find some tools that help with this. So we actually get this tool. This tool is pretty cool. It's able basically to have a sensor that is able to capture the flash you see on the video.
And so the flash has been, and so the tool's actually, and the tool is actually checking it's measuring the delta between the flash and hearing the sound.
Exactly. And so you can measure audio video sync in a very efficient way without doing crazy stuff that require a lot of time.
And so Paolo, DCV Session Manager, we've run out of time really to talk about DCV Session Manager, but there's a mountain of stuff that you guys have done in that as well. Maybe what we should do is to come back in a few weeks' time and do a tech short specifically about Session Manager and show people how they can get the most out of that for their environments, because it's a programmable environment too, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's an API. It's a complex system that you can use with DCV.
Cool.
And really, it's good if we can dedicate a bit of time and just talk about that.
Cool. That's like a whole area of its own. Okay, cool. Well, thanks very much. Thanks very much for joining us today, guys. It's been that's been a blast. There's a whole lot of stuff in there. So the last thing to say, if everybody out there, if you like the content, please click like. Do subscribe to the channel to find out more information about DCV, about HPC, about a whole lot of the stuff that we're doing here at AWS. And if you've got some ideas for future topics that you'd like us to cover, please find us on Twitter at TechHPC and DM us. Our DMs are open. Paolo, Ray, thank you for coming today and explaining all of this stuff to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you soon. Bye. Thank you.